Strategies with Bill Hasse. Innovative Strategies is a show designed to help people with their business and personal financial literacy. But, not in the way that you have known, this is not your grandpa's financial literacy, as Bill uses his 30-plus years in the financial industry to stretch your financial box from, 30,000-foot view of things this morning. Bill and his guest, of course, have helped hundreds of clients achieve and surpass their financial goals. If you have questions, go ahead and email them to Bill at BillHasse.com. That's Bill at BillHaase.com. Reach out to him right here, 216-Sinet@gmail.com. Today, welcome back to the studio, Bill. We're talking about the good and the bad.
Hey, good morning, Kent.
How are you, brother?
Good to be back.
Good to have you back, you're a worldly traveler.
Yeah, like I said, what was it, 18,000 miles in 11 days?
Wow.
That'll beat the hell out of you.
Boy, that'll give you some jet lag for sure.
I've slept in a lot of different positions.
Oh,
strange forward beds,
right? Oh man.
Airplanes, airports, blow up mattresses, you name it.
Wow.
I've come across it. Good to be back. Good to be back in my
Good
own
to have
bed.
you back, yeah.
And lots going on, lots happening, and all good. And still working on a few of the details.
Yeah.
But we're right there, just about to get things locked and loaded.
That's exciting. Of course, I was out last week. Deb filled in for you. Great show.
Yeah, I got to watch that from an airport.
Hey.
Most of it anyway.
Yeah.
And, it was very kind of Deb to step in and take a turn. And,
yeah.
And bring.
I wish I'd have been
Hector's
here.
a great guy.
Yeah, Hector did great. Yeah. I wish I could have been here. Was strapped with the COVID, but we fought through it.
Again?
It's I'll tell you about it off camera. It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You're like a magnet for that.
Oh, well, you got to put your body through it. That way, it makes you stronger.
Yeah. Well, you would have thought I would have gone through something after spending all those miles on an airplane in a tube. But stranger things have happened. But but in my travels, I came across a couple of things I thought I'd bring up. We talk a lot about a lot of different things here, right? And building a business, growing a business, maintaining a business, and all that nature and everything. And in my travels, I experienced some good and some not so good.
Yeah.
And I do wish to be careful, but still in negotiations. But I will say, expectations are a very important factor in negotiations. And we hear this all the time. Set good expectations. You're told that all the time. But doing that, practicing that, that's a whole different art form.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do it well, and ways in which, if you don't do it at all, can ruin a deal.
Sure.
But part of it is making sure you know every step of the process and the way, so that you can provide proper expectations. But let's go on a positive side here. So
Yeah, the good.
I traveled down to Cocoa Beach, Florida, and was going to a family member's service who had passed, and we were staying at an Airbnb. So my cousin had rented the Airbnb, and we found a backpack in the closet, and the backpack had the guy's. It was basically his business, backpack, because it had his computer, all kinds of stuff. So we called the guy to let him know, hey, you had left it here, it's safe. The guy was from an hour away. He was from Orlando or something.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he came a long distance. He was going to come back and get it. But what we did was we turned it over to the owner of the Airbnb. Now, this owner, a very impressive young man, 26 years old, this is the first Airbnb that he owns and rents out. But the young man, when he came to get the backpack, we got to talking a little bit. He had put together a business plan. He had spent a year studying the real estate market in Cocoa Beach with a friend of his who is a real estate person, before he even pulled the trigger on what he was going to do. And I don't know Airbnbs. This is my first time staying there, but I guess there's different levels, and he's at the highest level, so he has to first approve of you to be able to stay there. And of course, they can see who you are, but you can't necessarily learn who they are.
Correct.
But it's a very interesting setup. You watch a show called Adam Ruins Everything and have him talk about Airbnbs. Great show. But I was just very, very impressed with this guy because 26 years old and doing research and he's a surfer. He travels around the world surfing. I don't know if he's from money or not, but it doesn't really matter because the way he's handling himself is such an impressive way. When he's getting into a business and he takes a year to learn it, study it, and develop the plan, and then initiate execution. He's now looking at his second and third places, so he's going to start gearing it up. But he's taking his time and he's doing it the right way. A lot of people like to jump in and say, "Let's just rock and roll and let's get it all going." And
buy a house.
We're gonna do Airbnbs and we're gonna do 10 of them this year. And you run into all kinds of problems. I mean, folks, even the best laid plans do not go step by step according to your plan.
No, never.
There will always be changes. You need to be fluid. You need to be flexible, and adjust on the fly. And this is, I'm very fortunate. After 20 years in the trading pits, we learned that very, very, very quickly. That's why we say make the trade, manage a risk. A lot of people, they're afraid to make that decision, make the trade, right? And if they never make a decision, then they go out of business, right? And they don't make any money, nothing happens. So you have to make decisions, and then you have to manage the decision you made, and you have to admit to yourself that you're not perfect, so you're not making the perfect decision. You're making the best decision at the time with the information you have. As information changes, and maybe it's technology or other forms of communication information, but you adjust. And that's that. I think that's very, very key. And this young man really had that going on for him. So it was most impressive. So that's the good.
And that's a tricky business to get into as well, because there's a lot of cities and villages now are putting ordinances and things on people, because a lot of people are buying homes to turn them into Airbnbs.
Yeah.
And in
Homes, apartments, condos.
And now in our area, our neck of the wood here, just outside of Chicago, a lot of the villages are saying, "Well, you've got to live there half the year."
Well,
so there's some interesting things going.
Because and the thing is it drives up prices for things like rentals.
That's right.
Because you have less available.
Right.
So they become, and then your rentals are in the middle of Airbnbs where people are just coming to party or using. We think that way. That's not always true. We weren't there to party. We were there to meet family and have a place to stay while we went to some events. That's an interesting world. I don't want to have anything to do with it. It was my first experience at it, and it was a very good experience. I have absolutely kind of a cold shower, but that never hurts every once in a while, especially when you're traveling and now sleeping on a blow-up mattress. Cold shower can do you some good. Tighten up those back muscles that are already popping all over. But and you can tell, like, I love traveling to very hot places in August.
No kidding.
Right? I go from Dubai at 129, 130 degree heat index every day to.
Now, is that dry heat out there?
That is dry heat.
Yeah.
It gets more moist as the day goes on, more humid, and you can tell because. So I was on the 51st floor of my hotel.
Jeez.
And you would look out. I was looking out over the Arabian Sea, and as the afternoon and the heat went up in the afternoon, it got hazier and hazier. To the point where there were certain parts I could see out on the sea that I could no longer see.
Sure.
By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then hence you don't go out. I mean, Dubai's not a walking city. So you don't just go out and walk around.
Yeah, it's not like downtown Chicago.
No, right. It's not designed that way. You basically have to take a car anywhere, but you don't want to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, especially when I was over there in business. So here I am wearing in full regalia suit, meeting with some very high level people that require you to dress your very finest. But. So it was a a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All 46, 47 hours I was there.
Well, but again, you go back to the good, the bad, and the plan, right?
Yeah.
You went there, you had a game plan. Hopefully, you were able to execute that game plan, and now you're back, and where a lot of people would be happy that they went over there and executed the game plan, there's still a lot of work to do.
Yeah, game plans change. And we completed what our expectations were.
Yeah.
I did over there. There were some unexpected changes that have arisen, and we're dealing with those on a step-by-step basis. And I think we're right there at the final step now. So one little hurdle to reach, and then we should be able to rock and roll.
Well, but if you're in business and there human beings are involved, your plan never goes according to. I mean, if it does,
Well,
you should be scared. I think.
Yeah, I mean, we'll throw in the fact that you're talking about different cultures,
Absolutely.
different mindsets, different business mentalities. There's a lot to play in there. So, but that's my choice, right?
Yeah, but fortunately, in a previous life, you worked and dealt with a lot of people from that area.
I did.
So it's a lot different than like myself going over there going, hey.
Yeah, it's funny because everybody said, "Oh, be careful." You really got to be careful going to the
Yeah.
Middle East. Dubai is the #1 safest city in the world.
In the world.
In the world.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody's afraid for me going. It's like I'm going to a safer place than I'm right here in Chicago.
Hello.
Heck
Maybe even out there in the good old Grays Lake too.
Right, but it's so there's like misperceptions, and you're right. I've been fortunate to do business
Yeah.
with many cultures around the world for many years.
Yeah.
And I had been to Dubai once before. I was there in '07, and the difference between '07 and now is unbelievable. So the UAE, United Arab Emirates, does not have a government per se. They might have certain types of government entities, like a central bank and things like that. But that eliminates a lot of BS, and you can get a lot done when you don't have all these middlemen coming in. A sheik or a sultan can come in and buy a plot of land and build a world's tallest building in 6 years. That's how they built the Burj Khalifa. Which if some of you saw my Facebook, I posted a number of pictures. I don't post much.
Yeah.
So if you go to my Facebook and go back and look, they'll probably be right up front. But I got to go to the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building in the world. I got up to the 148th floor. Yeah.
Jeez.
And I took some pictures looking down at the tops of other buildings that were way, way, way down, with swimming pools on
That
top.
were still huge
and
buildings.
That were still. I mean, I took a picture of my hotel, which is the world's tallest hotel. I did not know that. Very, very cool looking place, and a Marriott, and I was on the 51st floor, and I go up to the 148th floor, and I'm like, holy cow, this is a little bit higher up.
That's crazy.
And that's not the highest you can go. I think you can get up to 170 something floors there.
Wow.
And they built this building in 6 years.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's just you can't conceive that 6 years in this country. But yeah, just amazing. And the bottom of it is it's this mall that is equal to the size of 50 football fields.
Yeah. Now the food over there.
Food's wonderful.
Is it? Yeah.
It's very eclectic, very international. And they basically have restaurants. So in the hotel, I think there were probably 8 or 9 different restaurants, each one focused on a different cuisine. There was the Italian, there was the Mexican, there was the Indian, there was, and then there's the Irish pub.
Can't go anywhere without a good Irish pub.
It's not cheap.
Right.
It's not terribly expensive because I went at the worst time of the year. I went in August, where nobody goes over there in August. I learned. But
Because it's 150 degrees.
it's a little warm. Kind of.
Yeah.
You ever stick your hand in a microwave and turn it on?
That's it.
It's similar, but people are very, very friendly, very kind.
Yeah.
Interesting thing I found, and talk about the good. So cab drivers that sit out in front of the hotel waiting to get rides, they're out wiping down their cars, inside and out. They're keeping their vehicles super clean. And you see that everywhere. People are cleaning all over the place, and it's because they don't have the infrastructure that we depend upon, that we're so accustomed to, that we believe, oh well, we pay taxes, they should clean.
Right.
Clean the streets, clean this and that. They have a different mentality about that. But
That's interesting. Yeah.
and they're very nice, and they love Americans. Everybody I ran into was very, very nice, very helpful, want to be very helpful. So it's a pleasant place. If I don't know that I would make it a destination for a vacation.
Right. No.
I mean, there's some really cool things there to see. I did not get to that I wanted to, but I didn't have the time. But
Now, is this the same place that has like a building that looks like a picture frame?
yes,
My
I actually have a picture of it.
Yeah. Okay.
I drove by it in a cab.
And it's a difference between the new and the old, or something like that. My son is in the
Okay.
Navy, and he was stationed over in the Middle East there for a while.
Yeah, There, I took a picture of it not knowing what it was,
Yeah.
just because it looked cool. But now you're telling me it's a building. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a really strange building.
It is.
I did go by the Museum of the Future, and you want to talk about cool buildings. Now, I would have loved to have gotten over there. That was my first choice, but I didn't know if I'd have time, and you have to buy tickets for a specific time,
Okay.
and I couldn't do that. I didn't have that control.
Interesting.
So I didn't get there for that. But,
Yeah.
they do say that if you want to go over there on a vacation type thing, 5 days is typically
Yeah.
enough. And again, the food is very good. You can get whatever you like. Obviously, there's some things that are different than what we're accustomed to. But,
Oh, yeah.
But, just an interesting blur in my life.
Now, when you're looking at your business that you and Deb are putting together, and you're of course we've had on the show a few I don't know, a month or so ago, talking about venture capitalists and things like that, and being prepared for the pitch and whatnot. Did the pitch go as planned? And I mean, was that a good or a bad, or was it like, ooh, I'm throwing a pitch and they're just gonna watch that and get a ball?
Well, so we sent the pitch deck over,
Yeah.
along with the executive summary, and that sold it.
Mm.
Deb did an amazing job putting that together. It sold it. We were working with the Sheik, very high level person there. I mean, there was a bay named after this guy over there. So, and parts of the
Right.
Dubai is named after this guy. So, so he was pretty high up the food chain, and we were informed that he was very impressed with what we're doing.
Nice.
So that had to have only come from the pitch deck and the executive summary. So kudos to Deb Dietz for putting that together, and we have not really pitched to anyone just yet. We've been in an enviable position where people are actually reaching out to us. We do have plans B, C, and D, and they are all in play as we speak. So we don't count on A being the only plan and that working out.
Sure.
And this is a great example of it, because it didn't work as smoothly as we had hoped it would. But it doesn't mean it's not going to work. It just takes more effort than we had anticipated.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that we don't continue our work on plans B, C, and D. Those are people that have seen the executive summary.
Yeah.
And it triggered in them responses that they wish to talk with us. Now, there's different types of people out there nowadays. There's VCs. VCs are actually more for established businesses looking for additional funding. We're a startup. VCs aren't as big into startups. then you get it more into like angel investors, and now there's new kinds of investors out there that are coming into play and understanding the startup world, and having good ideas of what works, what doesn't work, what looks good, what doesn't look good. And every executive summary and pitch deck it's not perfect for every situation, right? You might have to make adjustments and whatnot. We have not had to make any adjustments as of yet, but I'm leaving that open because that's a real possibility. But we've been fortunate. We've been approached by different types of people, so we're going to move ahead with those folks as well, just to be safe. It means different terms. It means being flexible. Like I said, you have a plan. We want X amount of dollars. We want the freedom to use it as we want to use it. We want to have good terms. We don't want to give up any of the business if we don't have to. So, and that's all over the boards with each different type
so you're
of
like in a
investment.
real life Shark Tank.
I guess you could say we're, yeah. I mean,
Right?
yeah, they're coming at us from different angles, Well, and I've watched a little bit of the Shark Tank recently, and I find it interesting. I think it's more of a game for them than it is reality. But
all right, so as we're moving forward, we're working through this. We've got our business plan, and things are going good. Are you anticipating the bad?
I think that's I would look at that as a wrong mindset because here's the thing. We've all had good and bad in our lives. We've all had good times and very difficult times, and those times are going to come and they're going to happen. Do you want to try and front run and anticipate them? You can, but are you going to be able to? Most likely not.
Yeah.
It's how you react, I think, is more important, and how you make adjustments, I think, is more important, because I think you need to enjoy the good. That's one problem I know I have to get past, is enjoy the good. Because we tend to just sit there and, well, if something good happens, then that means something bad's coming my way. We got to get rid of that mentality. Enjoy the good. It's okay to have things go well for you. It's okay to be, have things in a good way, and it's okay to enjoy that. It's like we always kind of keep our head down low. Just when's the other
shoe going to drop?
The shoe going to drop? And you know what? That's just life. You don't control it, so it's. I mean, I guess you can argue that you could control it to some extent.
Yeah, well, you and I were talking a little bit in the green room before the show, and we were talking about everybody is a expert in what you're doing, right?
Yeah, apparently there's a lot of them out there.
And when you're in a corporate structure, which a lot of our listeners are, the CEO, the owner, whatever, kind of says this is what's good, even though it may not be good. If you understand what I'm saying, and how do you get through that frustration of I'm tired? Listen, people, you know what I mean? How do you break out of that?
So you have to understand that the people trying to bring you advice are doing it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah.
They're doing it out because they're thinking of you. They want good things for you, and they think they know what you're doing, and they think they know what you have going on, and they want to be a piece of it, right? They want to be a part of it. So you keep that aspect in mind. It makes it easier to deal with. But as you've heard me say, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done listening to other people trying to tell me how to do what Deb and I are doing. They have no idea.
No.
They have absolutely no idea.
I sit here and listen to you guys on a weekly basis, and I still can't fathom.
It's
huge.
It's tremendous.
Yeah.
It is. As I've said, when the idea came to me in January, and I talked to Deb, and she loved it and grasped onto it. It has grown exponentially on a weekly basis. It just, this is a massive
The snowball, the snowball's on the downward.
It's now a very big ass snowball, and it's I don't know that we even fathom the full capacity. I mean, we're talking about putting together a business to reach out to millions of people all over the world.
All over the world.
And building systems to accommodate that, and the branding you have to do, the marketing you have to do, the web design.
Oh, I get
have
it.
to do and keep
21/6
up,
is worldwide.
The legal aspects and the money financial aspects, the studio.
Oh, I'm old hat at that. I mean, we've been worldwide for quite some time.
Yes, that's true. You have been. You have been. And you reach out to millions. I know.
That's right.
But there's different ways to go about it, right? But this is something that's.
But there is a lot of noise in your good. There's a lot of noise from the outside that starts to bleed bad, right?
It's you learn as you go. Is part of it. We know there's other people out there doing what we're trying to do. We know. I've learned a lot about other people that are out there, whether it's in small little areas, individual schools, or it's bigger. Maybe a few thousand people that are reaching, but we also know nobody's doing it at the level we're doing it. Nobody's doing a full national and international program, and I don't believe anybody I know is doing it at the quality that we're attempting to bring it to.
Right.
Because that is very important to us. Our reputation will be very important, but so there's so many different little aspects, and it's amazing how one can touch so many others.
Yeah.
So that's why it's difficult when people want to come and give you advice. It's like, don't. Until you can fully grasp everything that's going on and the effects of one area to another at a magnitude of this size, I appreciate it. I know you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart. I know you're doing it because you want me to succeed and Deb and I to succeed, and that's wonderful. I appreciate that. But
hold on.
I said a few years ago in the financial advising world, I said, I'm done listening to everybody else trying to tell me how to do my job.
Yeah.
I've been in the financial world over 35 years. I'm done. I'm going to go do what I do, and it either works or it doesn't. So I'm either in the right field or I'm not.
I'm not.
I'd rather find that out. And if I'm in the wrong field, then know it, make changes, and do whatever. You do what you've got to do. But believe in yourself. Just totally believe in yourself. Believe that you can do this. I'm not saying don't take advice from other people. There's no question that you need to reach out to people to help you in areas that you're weak in, we're working with a lot of different people.
Yeah.
We're going to have a lot of different things going on at one time.
That's a major, it's not a mom and pop shop.
It's not. We literally are going to probably take a few months to roll everything out, because if we do it all at once, I think Deb and I would collapse inside of a month, because every single person will be needing our insight and input into every aspect that's being built. And Deb and I will work to divide that up so it doesn't crush either one of us. But it's intense. It's extremely intense.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. Of course, you're listening to 216 The Net. This is Innovative Strategies with Bill Haase. You can check him out every Wednesday morning, right at 9 a.m. Central, right here. And, of course, your series, Conversations with a CEO, is going fantastic. I think you're getting in the studio here this week again.
Yes, you and I are getting in the studio tomorrow.
To put together the next episode.
Yeah.
Over at our good friends at Butterfield Studios, Jeff and the gang over there. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Great gang, great
Yeah.
group of people, do outstanding work. They're going to be doing our work with our business.
Yeah.
And that's how highly we think of them.
Jeff's great at what he does. I mean, that's really his wheelhouse too, is that training and,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, how they're touching our business is we're working with Butterfield Studios and Jeff to we get creative writers, we get script writers, we get actors, we get lighting, sound,
Playing
cameraman,
the part
producers.
of Bill Hussey today.
We're gonna get a makeup person. I mean, we literally. I mean, that's little details, of every aspect, and
that nobody sees.
that nobody sees, and then we have to start putting these courses together, and we're not going to hit the mark for a while.
Right.
We're going to have to do trial after trial after trial before we hit what we feel is what we're looking to do and looking to get out of this. Then we go to beta testing.
Yeah.
So the idea is the first 6 courses that we'll put together will be, what would you say, beta testing courses, demo courses that may or may not make it to the final cut. But after a certain period of time, we should be able to get it down to a system where we'll be much, much more efficient, and we'll be able to put these classes together much more quickly. But again, that takes time.
Well, and what you're doing with financial literacy is an always moving target.
Yeah.
It's the financial stuff changes all the time. I mean, just a few years ago, right? Greece goes, we're broke.
Well, they do that every few years.
And then there's a dollar that does well, or a ruble that it's not just hey, here's 50 cents. If you take away 25, you have.
Well, if you look at it a couple different ways. All right, we're not looking to get into the minutia. Right, we're not in the weeds.
Right.
We don't want to go into having people understand how the dollar works everywhere,
right,
and and everything that affects the dollar, or interest rates and things of that nature. What we are doing is we are doing an introductory courses to understanding basics of financial literacy. So the idea is to help people provide knowledge. Right, our mission statement: provide knowledge, which gives you options. Options gives you freedom. Because people really need that. Look, I've just traveled 18,000 miles and run into so many people who have no idea.
Zero.
My cousin, sorry, love you, cuz, but you got a strong will, and I know you're in the finance world working for the government, which is an oxymoron. But that doesn't tell you how money works. That doesn't show you how money works. And and I could point things out, but here's the other thing. So, a lot of people don't want to listen to you. They don't want to hear it.
Right.
They either already know, or think they know, or they just don't want to hear it because that's just not something that bursts their bubble. Makes them think. A lot of people think I don't want to know that because I just don't want to know. I don't want to know that side. Keep it blind, stick your head in the sand, and hopefully everything works out just fine for you. And you can do that. That's fine. Many people have survived that way, and you will. But if you take the time to learn, you'll be surprised how much better your life will be.
Yeah,
it really is, and it's not that hard. We're going to teach classes that are only going to be 7 to 15 minutes long per class. Well, right now we have about 35 in our syllabus. That'll change. We can condense some of them and then add. And we're not expecting each and every person to go through all of them.
Right.
For high schools, they might tell their juniors and seniors, pick 12.
Yeah.
And go through 12. And then you get a certificate of completion. Because of those states that require that.
But boy, I mean, what a difference it will make. And I'm looking at America right now.
Yeah.
What a difference it'll make having college freshmen going in understanding. Oh, whoa, this is a bad debt that maybe I should look at a different option here because
Government will pay it off. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, when you folks it, and I've got 4 kids, and we've talked to them about this.
Yeah.
We are not right now rolling in dough. Let's say with 4 kids, college education.
Did you just see what it costs? They changed from 2015 to raise a kid from birth to 17 years old was $215,000 or $220,000 total, and 7 years later, it's over $330,000.
I was going to say they don't got my kids.
Well, obviously it's different for everybody
Right.
and their situations. It's kind of like, do I want to live in Kenosha? What used to be dirt cheap.
Well, sure. So I've been
or do I want to
blessed.
live in the high rise in Chicago?
I've been blessed that 2 of my daughters have played college basketball. One is playing college basketball, and and my wife and I have explained to them at an early age is that this is your job.
Yeah.
The school is paying you to play basketball for them, so this is your job. You got to work on this, at least 4 to 6 hours a day outside of going to school. Your job is to study and get good grades.
Yeah.
But you're working for the school because you're representing them. So it's important for you to do that.
Both my kids worked
yeah.
in college.
Yeah, I did too.
And kudos to them.
Yep.
You talk about colleges. Colleges really know this game well.
Oh,
They know
they
the money
do.
game well.
Oh, they do.
All right, these are for-profit institutions. Okay, and so hence we've moved from that. Remember, you used to go to the food hall,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And it was always crappy food and everything
Always.
else, but you got used to it. You loved it.
You're on the
and,
meal plan.
and if you get stoned enough, you could actually eat it. But it's the old jokes: flush twice, it's a long way to the food hall.
That's right.
But they've really gotten it down because now you get a debit card.
Yeah.
And you can put money on that debit card. Mom and Dad put money on for the semester because this is what they recommend. $2,000 for the semester. What Mom and Dad don't know is that card works, not just at the food hall, but it works at a couple of fast food restaurants on campus. It works at the campus
The bookstore.
bookstore.
Yeah,
It works at this, general store, this coffee shop.
Yeah.
And a month later, the kids are like, I'm out of money.
Yeah.
Because it's free money to them.
It's free.
They're not being taught that how to manage that money. Certainly some kids are. When I talk, I'm talking in general terms here. I don't specifics in.
Well, a better percentage. That's
And,
why. That's
yeah.
why we want the bailout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And that's apparently coming. Now, I think they said on the radio this morning was $10,000. They were going to reduce it. And for certain people in certain situations that had certain types of loans and yada, yada, yada. So there's campuses have figured this out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this leads you right into that path of credit cards,
Yeah.
right? And then we get into that. It wasn't too many years ago, I recall the average person had 17 credit cards.
Yeah.
Carried that. Now that included your gas station cards,
Yeah.
your Kohl's,
Kohl's,
your whatever. Because you sign up. Worst thing you can do, and I've said this before, you don't go to a store and you buy $100 worth of stuff, and they say, hey, if you sign up for our card today, we'll give you 20% off. So you save $20 and you just trashed your credit rating.
That's right.
So, for a card that you're most likely never going to use and
Yeah.
shouldn't use because it's going to be a stupid, annual rate.
Yeah.
At least we have information available to us to make better choices as far as
Right.
like credit cards and finance as well. But you have to utilize it. It's incredible. I don't know how many times people ask me questions. I'm like, there's this really cool thing called Google, and it can bring you a lot of different answers.
Yeah.
And it'll actually probably raise some questions that you hadn't thought about.
Yeah.
I love that when I Google something and then it has this box of questions and you click on one, now it's 10.
That's right.
You click on another one, now it's 20 questions. Because it does. It gets you to think a little bit different. Oh, I didn't think about that part of it.
Yep.
That aspect. So there's things out there to help you out, but we're getting younger and younger, and we're getting more and more brainwashed I would say. I mean, kids in high schools now easily. I mean, there's kids in high school trading stocks.
Yeah.
There's 8th graders trading stocks.
Yep.
And younger. I mean, that's sophisticated, especially at that age. So our kids are growing up faster. And we're kind of asking them to grow up faster. We're forcing them to grow up faster, but we're not providing them with all the tools to do so in a successful way and successful being happy. I think we're putting a lot more stress on a younger generation than needs be. That came about, especially with cell phones. How many parents out there, and I don't know this for sure, I've heard this many times, though, where kids are in college and they get out of their big exam and the parents are already texting because the exam is supposed to end at 11. So at 11:01, how'd it go?
Yeah.
I'm like, really?
A little bit of stress.
The kid doesn't have enough pressure trying to pass a most likely a difficult exam, and a very important one for overall grades. And you're adding to it by saying 1 minute afterwards, how's it going?
Hey.
How'd you do? How do you think you did?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I don't know.
Right.
I checked a bunch of boxes,
See.
and I hope for the best. Or you could be Tommy Boy and say, "Yay, I got a D+, I passed."
Right. I passed.
So a lot of pressures, and then on top of it, we're not teaching them the most basic things. I think they're way more important than many things we learn in college, and things like communication skills.
Yeah.
Because communication skills are different at different levels. Leadership skills, fundamental financial skills. Be aware of your finances and what's going on. Don't rely on, I go to the ATM and I put my card in and it tells me how much I have.
Yeah.
Be aware of the fact that so many people and so many things out there are out there to steal your information and your money. And everybody says, they're getting tricky. Well, they've always been tricky. They're just, they're remaining tricky. And even the best of us get caught. I got hacked. My wife got hacked.
Yeah. I've been hacked. Yeah, I had my identity stolen. Yeah.
But it's so it happens to anybody in the best of us. But you need to be aware, and you need to be aware of what to do. Did we get knocked off?
Nope. I don't know. That's just my Mac. I don't understand it. It sometimes just barks at me like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not a Mac fan, but I know many people are.
I was hey, do this.
In this world, I think Mac's supposed to be more efficient.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We'll go with that.
But
of course, Apple, if you want to sponsor Innovative Strategies, feel free.
Oh, here's another thing. And Deb brought this up to me the other day.
Yeah.
We're going to do a class on negotiating skills, and I can tell you, I've dug deep and gone back many decades with the most recent negotiating skills that I've needed to bring into play.
Yeah.
It's challenging. Sometimes even just answering an email properly can make or break a deal.
Sure.
And you need to pay attention to every word, every intention. You need to pay attention to how it could be perceived on the other side.
Yeah. Well, it's not like it's not like Pawn Stars. Wait, a lot of people think negotiation is this.
Right.
What do you give me for this?
Yeah.
500. How about 800? How about 6? That's not.
You know what? I'm going to give you 2.
That's dickering.
Yeah. That's not negotiation skills. Although there are skills that could be used in there to maybe
Sure.
help you get a little bit extra. But the bottom line, you're not getting true value. But that is a little bit different. I mean, but we do negotiations all the time.
Yeah.
Whether we know it or not. Just like we're in sales all the time, whether we believe it or not.
Believe it or not.
And there's that guy who can sell an ice cube to an Eskimo.
Yeah.
Right. There's always those, as we say in the sales world. But majority of people in the sales world don't have good skills.
Yeah.
And it's because they're taught to sell a product. They're not taught to sell a solution to a problem.
Right.
And is really one of the big things about it. And they're not given the time to. And they're not given, and sales is about relationships too. Mm-hmm. And we don't give people time to build relationships. So,
But again, it goes back to the programming, or as you said earlier, brainwashing. It's you don't need to know this because this is right or wrong. Why is it right or wrong? Well, because I'm the teacher, and that's what the syllabus says.
yeah, we don't give the why,
Yeah,
and the why is very important because the why might mean something to that person that could help them
yeah,
develop the skill in their way. There's no cookie cutter way to tell anybody how to negotiate or how to sell or how to communicate or how to be a leader.
yeah.
There's no cookie cutter way. What we have going on here and what you saw a few weeks ago on a show while I was out was that Nicole was talking about
Cole Martin.
she was talking about the fact that we have this old school and new school ways of thinking.
That's right.
There's no more corporate ladder. There's a lattice, and I knew this. Inherently I knew this, but I couldn't pinpoint it until she made it more clear for me. So thank you, Nicole. We'll be working soon, but there's just too many old school mentalities still out there. And that includes people running major Fortune 50 companies.
Oh, yeah.
And smaller and smaller. I mean, here's another issue: ego. Ego can ruin a deal in a heartbeat. Ego can ruin negotiations. It can ruin
Relationship.
leadership. Yeah, relationship. It can kill a lot of things, and you have to keep that in check, especially in negotiations. You may not like what's going on in those negotiations, but you can never point that out.
Right.
You must contain that, use that, and to your advantage.
Yeah. So it's almost like a game of poker.
It's very
Right.
much
You
much a game of
You
poker.
may get a good flop, in Texas Hold'em.
Yeah,
But you can't smile and go, woohoo!
yeah, and you're not relying on luck here to
Right.
to win that game. You're relying on skill,
Skill.
and I unfortunately that skill is typically something that needs to be learned, and that takes time. You can watch it over and over again. That doesn't mean
Well,
you can do it.
and let me ask you then, in your 30s, would you have been as good as you were this past month?
No.
Yeah.
No, I literally I had to take. I mean, I was fortunate. I'm blessed. I'm fortunate. I spent years in the trading pits working with international people,
Yeah.
and Far East, Middle East, Europe. So I did a lot of negotiating with them, and I learned the different cultures and the different ways and how they think and what their expectations are, it's a challenge, but
Yeah.
over time you get better and better at it. I think when you're young, you have a tendency to think you really know it all, or I got this.
Yeah.
Oh, I handle this. It's each deal is a different deal, and each one is negotiated differently. There's different tactics. Again, there's different mediums, right? Whether we're talking on the phone, whether we're meeting face to face, whether it's a text, whether it's an email. Every single aspect of everything talked about is important, because one thing you do wrong will come back to haunt you, and could easily kill a deal or ruin a deal that you can't recover from. And so it's very important to take time. This is something I was not good at. I was not good at patience, taking time to absorb the communication and then to respond properly. I was terrible at that up until, I don't know, maybe a year ago.
And
I'm old.
and I go back to Pete Galt, and Pete, God rest his soul, used to say that he loved being 55, right? He loved being in his 50s.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm wiser. I understand life a little bit better.
Bet he didn't make the 60s.
And my ego isn't as big, and I think about that too. Right now, whether it's the Stars or whatever, is whatever I'm in. I used to be the guy like, fuck you, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm coming at you. Don't tell me how to do my job. I'm coming at you.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
you want to fight? Fine. You're questioning me? How dare you question me?
Yeah.
And so I was very combative. Now I listen a lot, and I go, seek first to understand before I respond to this. And there's a lot of conversations that I'll have in the business world where I say, I'm going to give you an answer, not today. I've got to do a little research. I got to
Yeah.
think about this.
Yeah.
And I think people appreciate that.
More than you would think.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I more than you would think. In fact, I would venture to say that people would rather have you say, let me do a little research and let me get back to you,
Yep.
than try to blurt out what you think you know about providing that answer and being wrong.
Yeah.
And again, killing a deal because you made a mistake.
Yeah.
And listening is huge. It's something I've gotten much better at. I have a long way to go. And it's funny though, when you make that flip from talking all the time to listening, it's amazing how much other people are talking. I mean, they'll
Isn't it?
they'll talk forever and ever. My cousin woke me up at 5:30 in the morning, and he goes, "You up?" I go, "Well, I am now," because he started talking. Now he would talk from the moment he got up to the moment he went to bed, nonstop.
Oh yeah, I know a few people like
Stop.
that. Yeah.
The only way you get a word in is you cut him off. He's quiet for a minute there, and okay, you could see him winding up again. It's like, okay, just let him go. He's a great guy, but people will talk forever, and I sit with groups, friends and stuff, and we'll do things together and everything, and everybody will be talking. Everybody's talking at the same time, and nobody's listening to anybody else.
Yeah.
They're thinking about what they're saying, what they want to say, what their reaction to what they think they heard you say, and we all do this, right?
Yep.
We're constantly as a moderator on a show, I have to do that,
Right.
but it's difficult. It's challenging.
It
If
is
you
tough.
want to stay in the conversation, but also have another conversation in your head saying, okay, what part of this conversation do I want to go down that path, and do I want to shift to?
Yeah. So every day, I'm scribbling notes on little Post-its and what in conversations.
Yeah.
Because you're going to spark something for me, that I wrote down. Like, all right, excellent. And then I put them in my pocket, because then at the end of the day, before I retire for the day, I go back through them. Oh my gosh, I got to do this, or oh, I wanted to look up this.
Yeah.
And it's because my memory, you're going to spark something in me that I go boom, and if I don't write it down, it's in one ear out the other, because
Most likely, yeah.
the phone rings or another deal comes up, or I got to get to another show, or whatever the case may be. So I mean, especially on innovative strategies, I've got so many notes just lying around, and
We've been blessed with so many
Yeah.
wonderful guests and,
Yeah.
and conversations. And I've learned tremendously from it.
Yeah.
I mean, this business that Deb and I are building, a year ago I couldn't have done this.
yeah,
I mean, this is all based on so many good people that I've been able to interview and have conversations with, and you as well, and we're continuing that with the conversations with the CEO, and
Yeah.
we'll have that show coming on here as well. But yeah, it's hard to absorb everything, and don't try. Just get what you can. We know people, in a class they'll get 10%, 15%. Which is why when we're building our classes, we know we have to entertain as well as teach.
Yep.
Hopefully that will provide a greater absorption of what we're trying to get across.
yeah,
But we just don't teach life basic fundamental needs.
yeah. So back when we were in school, back in the 70s, 80s.
Climbing 10 feet, uphill and blizzards.
Yeah.
And
We had to go through home economics. We had to learn how to fry an egg. We had to learn how to sew. We went through shop class.
auto shop, wood
you
shop.
had you had what they called record keeping, which was basically your checkbook ledger. You learned how to write a check. You learned how to balance a checkbook.
Yeah.
There were so many more life life courses, I guess.
Yeah.
Than there
Yeah.
are now. Now
Now,
it's,
there's 4 courses now.
Yeah.
It's STEM, right?
Yep.
Fit into one of those.
Yep.
Or you don't fit in.
Or you don't fit in.
Figure it out.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, because I remember asking an educator, I said, so how are you teaching decision-making skills? He said, oh, it's easy. Geometry. I said, what? Because that's what geometry is for. I said, do the students know that?
Nope.
No, they don't. If they don't, how do they know how to take it?
Right.
That it's just inherent? No, it doesn't work that way. I don't believe. Of course, I'm not a professor, nor will I ever be.
Sure.
Nobody will ever ask me to do that. But it just there are life lessons that need to be taught, and they need to be taught at a younger age.
Yeah.
Because they need to be starting to be used at a younger age.
Yeah.
They're needed, and I think if we can accomplish what we hope to accomplish with these juniors and seniors on a rotational situation, that in short time we can have a much better person out in that world doing better things,
Right.
for themselves and for others,
Yeah.
because they've got more skills, they've got more lessons, they got more knowledge that is more pertinent to life. Most folks who know me know I'm not a big fan of college. I think it's a good transition from high school to real life. I think it's a good place to meet lifelong connections.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good place to meet business and develop business connections that will be lifelong. But does it teach you? I mean, are you going to go out in the real world and do, a lot of what you learned in the college for 4 years or 5 or 6, which is what most people are? Yep. Probably not. Of course, if you're going to be a lawyer, yes. If you're going to be a CPA, yes. And, going to be a doctor, yes. But for most people who take an Bachelor of Arts scenario, the first 2 years are fundamentals. Well, that was what high school was all about, I thought.
Yeah.
And even in high school, the first 2 years are more fundamentals, and the last 2 years are more focused.
Yeah, I tell my kids follow your passions, right? So I've got Lucy's 13, she's in 8th grade, and her dream is to be a beautician,
Okay.
but own, not just sit rent a chair, but to own, right?
Right.
So
be a business owner.
So for her birthday this past July, we got her some mannequin heads with real life human hair in it, so that she could start practicing different things on
Well,
this.
clearly, it wasn't working out too well with
Yeah,
with
right,
that.
yeah, that's what I said. But at the same time, we start talking about, here's how this industry works, right? And people are like, she's 13. Yep. And if this is her dream, don't I want my kid to be as prepared for her dream to chase and go get than anything? Well, she could change. Yes, she could. That's fine. But this education that we're giving her,
Yeah, so you're teaching
Can't be
her
replaced.
how to be a business owner, not a beautician.
correct?
Because that's really what she wants. She just doesn't. She knows it, but it's in a different way, right?
Correct.
In her
yeah.
way.
Yeah, in a 13-year-old's way.
Yeah. And that's phenomenal. But yeah, so teaching those business skills, those will transfer to so many other different
Wherever.
any
Yeah.
area.
Exactly.
Look at pro athletes. If they had any idea how finances,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be broke 4 years
They
after they're out of
wouldn't be broke.
out
That's
of their
right.
game.
That's
But,
right.
that time is up, isn't it?
Yeah, we're there, brother. That's for sure.
All right.
Yeah,
Right,
on
having a
that.
conversation. It's good to be back. I know it's been a
Good to have you back, man.
And let's get rocking and rolling again. Tomorrow we'll be in the studio doing a new recording
Yeah.
and
New conversation.
new conversation. And let's keep rocking and rolling. And hopefully we can help a lot of people.
There you go.
That's our goal.
Folks, that's going to do it for us. This has been Innovative Strategies with Bill Hasse, your financial literacy king. Of course. Oh, you just crowned you. Come back at 12:30 today for questions you never thought you could ask in church tonight. At 6 is the Slate Real Talk with Scott Dean. Tomorrow, we've got the Fairfax on Guns. Fridays, always loaded. So check us out. Like, follow, subscribe. We've got a few shows out on Twitter now with some shows that have a Twitter handle. We would love to have everybody just tweet. It
Get
works.
in on that.
Get in on it. Thanks, folks.
Thanks for not calling me the jester.